Are you afraid of President Trump?
No. I'm a senator who was duly elected by the people of Maine. I'm very honored to have that position, and I'm going to do what I think is right. And sometimes that means I'm going to be agreeing with the president, and sometimes it means that I'm not.
Senator Collins was the strongest Republican opponent to the Trump-McConnell health care bill in the Senate, and today Republicans and Democrats announced a plan to try to work together on the next step in health care legislation. The Senate Health, Education, and Labor Committee will begin holding hearings in September, quote, on the actions Congress should take to stabilize and strengthen the individual health insurance market. Joining us now, Senator Chris Murphy from Connecticut. He is a member of that committee. Senator Murphy, thank you very much for joining us tonight. This is a routine announcement in the past in the Senate that this committee that has jurisdiction over this subject is going to have hearings on this subject. But in the Senate you've been working in, this is a breakthrough.
Yeah, it is a breakthrough, and I guess it's better late than never. But the problem is we're up against the clock. Insurers are making decisions this fall about the rates that they will offer on the exchanges, whether or not they will continue to participate. And what we're talking about in these bipartisan negotiations is essentially taking the keys to the American healthcare system away from the President of the United States, because we're pretty convinced that he's going to use it to drive the healthcare system into the ground. So we have a really short window here to try to rescue these exchanges, to rescue the healthcare system from Donald Trump, who's trying to sabotage this system in order to make sure that millions of people who get healthcare today through these ACA exchanges continue to get them. So we don't have a lot of time here. It would have been a lot better had we actually started talking to each other, had Republicans included us in these discussions a couple months ago.
The president took to Twitter to complain bitterly about filibuster rules in the Senate after the defeat of the health care bill, apparently not comprehending that that had absolutely nothing to do with the way the health care bill went down. So let's listen to Mitch McConnell correcting the president on that.
Well, I mean, it's pretty obvious that our problem with health care was not the Democrats. We didn't have 50 Republicans. There are not the votes in the Senate, as I've said repeatedly to the president and to all of you, to change the rules of the Senate. There are not enough. It would require 50 or 51 Republicans to agree to do that. The votes are simply not there.
That sounds like a majority leader who's ready to move on, Senator.
Yeah, he's not going to get to 50 votes on health care reform. Why? Because the bill that they continue to put forward is wildly unpopular amongst the American public. And frankly, it's a miracle that they got 49 votes on a bill that enjoys 15% approval out there in America, that uninsures 20 million people and drives up rates by 20%. Now, again, if they're really willing to work with us on a bill that maybe gives Republicans a little bit on flexibility and gives us and the American public something on long-term security and stability on these marketplaces, we could get 70 votes for it. But yes, he is right to correct Donald Trump that the problem is not the filibuster. The problem is that you spent 6 to 7 years deriding the Affordable Care Act, calling for its replacement, and Republicans didn't bother to spend any of that time actually coming up with any good ideas on how to replace it.
Senator, I wanted to get your reaction as a member of the Foreign Relations Committee where the sanctions bill originates. The president's delay in signing the Russia sanctions bill, and not a word from the president about 755 Americans being expelled from the Moscow embassy.
Yeah, it's par for the course. This president has, taken a really odd series of positions on U.S.-Russia relations, and I guess this stands in that pattern of behavior. I take him at his word that he's eventually going to sign this piece of legislation. He's right that it is complicated, but we are in the position today that we are in because Donald Trump has sent a myriad of signals to the Russians that they have free rein around the world to grow their influence, to interfere in other people's elections, to try to spread their influence into places that we had checked them before. So I think his silence on the expulsion of hundreds of American diplomats is yet another signal to Putin that he can continue to spread his wings in his periphery without any pushback. Of course, the irony is that, Putin is expelling a bunch of people who help Russians visit the United States. And so the detriment of these expulsions are mainly going to be to the Russian people, not to the U.S. government.
Connecticut Senator Chris Murphy, thank you very much for joining us tonight. Really appreciate
Thanks.
it. Thank you.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.